Hey, what's up, everybody? Got a little bit of time here and had a few requests on a video on my painting process. Got a Santa ornament here that's ready to be painted, and thought if I was going to be doing that, maybe I would get some film and share with you guys how I go about that. Hold tight and let me get everything set up. All right, so what we're going to need to do this, of course, first of all, is our piece that needs to be painted. This one I carved earlier. I have scrubbed it with a little bit of Dawn dish detergent and a stiff bristled brush, and then just let it dry. This this piece of wood is a little damp to the touch, but it's pretty much dry. I know a lot of people like to paint wet on wet. I haven't had as good results from that myself as if I let it dry out for a while before I start applying paint. Of course, be sure you sign your pieces. I know I'm not telling anybody anything there, but it is important to get credit for the work you put in. I'm going to have a little bit of a dropper with some water to mix my paints. I pretty much exclusively paint with acrylics, so the process for that. I am not the person to ask questions if you prefer to use oil paint. I do love the look of oils, but I just don't have the time necessary to devote to them. Excuse me. For paints, we're going to be using burnt sienna. This one is very old. The label's not even there anymore, but it is a red iron oxide, a yellow ochre. I'm going to use a royal blue on this one, and two types of white. So this is just a plain titanium white. Try to get some of that glare out of here. Plain titanium white. This one is fairly thin, and this is a heavy body titanium white. I'll show you why I use the two different ones here in just a little bit. And of course, an assortment of brushes and some water and a palette of some type. My palette is one of these old egg crates that goes in your refrigerator. Works perfectly for me. So let me get everything set up here and we'll get started. So the first thing we're going to do is add some shading to this thing. I'm going to put a fair bit of water in the bottom of that and get my burnt sienna. And I want this to be very thin. This is just going to go into the deeper parts of the painting. I don't want to come out there. Let me try it this way. It's kind of set up on top. I need to add a little water to it. So I can just grab a dab there, mix it in, and then I'm going to thin this down even more. One of the people who's painting that I modeled this painting style after is Richard Holden. He's got several videos on his Facebook, Cartoons to Carvings, showing the process. And one thing that he has said that makes a big difference is you need to add your paint to a little bit of water and mix, and then thin it to the consistency that you want from there. It does help a lot. So let me get that out of the way, get our paint here, get our carving here. So we're going to shade just the deeper areas. And it'll run a little bit, not a big deal. This is all going to get covered up. This is going to add a little bit of depth to the finished product. And then we're going to do some more at the end, add even more depth to that. You're going to take the time to carve in all these little facets and different detail areas. You don't want those to disappear with your paint. We want to make sure that those little areas really pop out to really add to the overall piece once it's all said and done. So I'm gonna buzz through this right quick and just get some paint in these deeper spots. All right. So there's that. The next thing I like to do is to go ahead and get the flesh tones set. And for that, I only use this red iron oxide. This particular paint is no longer being produced, so whenever this little bottle is empty, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe cry, because a couple of good thin coats of it, and it is the best flesh tone that I've found by far. So right now that looks pretty red. It'll tone down a good bit as it dries and that paint gets absorbed into the wood. I actually probably end up coming back and putting more on it before it's all said and done. Matter of fact, here on this lip, I'm going to add a little bit more. But we'll let that dry for now and move on to the next part. So for the beard, we're going to build that up in layers, the beard and the hair. The first layer is going to be this yellow oxide. This is a little tip I picked up from watching some Dave Stetson videos. He mentions that it gives your beard a much warmer tone, and he is very much right there. It just makes a huge difference in that end white, so that beard isn't just a stark, bright white. It has a little bit of warmth to it. Makes it look a little more natural to me. Plus, it helps to and it enhances your carving, because this darker color gets down into these little nooks and crannies, and when you go back over it, it gives some depth there. So we're going to go in and paint all the hair, all of his beard. I'll hit his eyebrows with this also, kind of as a base coat, before I do the white on top of that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do his tassel with this color as well. We don't have to worry about keeping paint from running over there. Just go ahead and hit it while I'm here. Go all the way around. I won't bore you. I'll speed through this here in just a second, but just make sure you get all of it covered. There's that. I want to stop for a second, go hit this with the hairdryer right quick. That is the benefit of painting on the raw wood like this versus treating with boiled linseed oil. I go hit it with the hairdryer, look for any spots that need to be touched up, and be able to buzz right along and not have to wait for paint to dry. All right, so there it is, dried off, ready to go to the next step. The flesh tone actually, it got kind of pale on me once I dried it. So I'm going to, or I did hit it with another coat of that red iron oxide. Probably end up hitting it with another one before it's all said and done, but we'll just wait and see how it looks here in just a few minutes. Now let's get on to painting this hat. For these old world Santas, I like using non-traditional type colors. I like using it a lot on all my Santas. So I'm going to use this royal blue for this one. Nice, really thin coat. Water, thin that down some more. And I will buzz on through this. There we go. And you can kind of notice through these folds where I put that burnt sienna earlier. It's got some little bit of darker tone there. That's where that really helps to to give some depth to the finished piece. I got a little run there. Let me try to clean that off. All right, so I went and hit that hat with a hairdryer so I didn't accidentally get blue paint all over my hands and transfer it to the rest of the piece. But that's where we're at right now. Now it's time to start getting into the little details that make this guy a Santa. So we're gonna go with our thinner titanium white. And this particular one is already pretty doggone thin. So I'm not going to add much water to it. I want it to have some transparency to let that yellow show through, but not a ton. So we'll start here and see what it looks like. And while I'm working with this white, I'll go ahead and paint his eyes. I'm gonna hit that with the hair dryer once again and see what I think. Be right back. I'm pretty happy overall with the way the beard looks. Might touch up a couple of small areas there. It's still got a little too much of that yellow shining through. Other than that, I think we're good to go. Now it's time to go to the heavy body white and do some dry brushing on here. Find a brush that is dry. It is. So we just want to dry brush over all of the hair and the beard. To give it even more depth. Make those highlights and shadows pop out. Sorry, y'all. Just noticed I wasn't even on in the frame there. Let me try that again. All right, so I'm fairly happy with the way that is right now. I'm gonna go dry this off, finish painting them. I'm not gonna bore you with painting the eyes because my technique there is generally boils down to hope for the best. I'm not very good at that part. So I'll get that taken care of and then come back to show you the finishing touches here. All right, so we've got the painting complete. In the meantime, I sprayed this thing completely with a 2 coats of a matte lacquer. I really like using lacquer for a final sealer just because it dries fast. If you accidentally smudge it or whatever, spray another quick coat on it. You just have to be real careful with humidity. I have on one carving a while back, I did have it kind of turn white on me. Usually, if you just spray another thin coat on it in a drier setting, that'll clear up. But it is something to be mindful of. Here in North Carolina this time of year, we've got a lot of humidity, so have to be real careful with that. Now we're going to go to the final part of the process. This is just regular Howard's Feeding Wax that I tinted with some, I don't know, it's either raw umber or burnt umber oil-based paint. Maybe both. I honestly don't know how much till it's right. I don't have any sort of guideline there. Just drop it in. Usually it'll take a day or two to mix into a full bottle like this. Shake it pretty regularly. If you want to make it a little bit darker, add a little bit more. Just get it to where you want it. And since I am using that tinted, I'm gonna throw on some nitrile gloves just so my hands don't get stained. Now we just coat the thing down. Make sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies and little crevices. This is what will really make those final details pop. For a long time, I tried to paint in my shading and it just looks sloppy and uneven. Since I started doing this, I like the results much better. We're gonna let that set for a few minutes and come back and wipe off most of it. And that'll be the finished piece. All right, that's set for 5 minutes or so. Now we're going to come back and wipe off a lot of this excess. We want to be sure, I like to make sure to clean out the eyes really well. But other than that, I want to leave as much as I possibly can in all those little crevices. And there we go. So when you add that, Howard's just going to leave a fairly shiny finish at first, but that will tone down considerably over the course of a couple of hours, and then it'll leave it with a nice luster in the end. That Howard's isn't a super long lasting finish, but really I'm just using it as a carrier to get that darker oil paint into those shaded areas. So I'm not too worried about that. By the time it tones down, it'll be nice and soft and fairly flat. So thanks for watching. Hope this helped somebody. If it did, I'd appreciate, give me a like, maybe sharing this with somebody that you think might could use it. And I'll be back one day with another video. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.